This podcast could potentially have adult language, adult themes, definitely drinking, and possibly the possibility of sexual content. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Drinking with Authors, the Literary Briefs edition. Val, there is an intro. I don't know why you keep doing this.
You're the only co-host. It's going to be a Val special episode. It's when I interrupt Erica. I've talked to the other co-hosts. I'm like, what do you guys do when Erica's popping out questions? They're like, I sit quietly and wait for my turn. And I said, I interrupt the fuck out of her every time.
Oh, they know. They know.
They consider me the brave one.
That's not what they consider you. That's only to your face. They have other words for you behind your back. Just kidding. No, they don't. They love you. Okay. This is the Literary Briefs edition. I am your host, Erica Lance. My co-host, as you've probably already been able to tell because she can't stop herself, is Valerie Willis. And our guest today is Clary Jones. Woo! Okay. Let's talk about what we're drinking. I have the very last of a gin and tonic with San Pellegrino Momenti, which is pomegranate and blackcurrant. It's actually been very yummy.
I'm just jealous I can't pronounce that. Anytime I've ever had one of those on the show, and you said that I'm drinking champagne. Apparently, it's whatever this is. The Marca Prosecco.
It's the Costco Prosecco. I know exactly what that is.
Yeah.
I'm not good at pronouncing anything.
That is not accurate. You are good at pronouncing things, just apparently not alcoholic things.
No, alcoholic Val, drunk Val. What I don't know what words I'm using anymore. I'm just going to be silent.
Claire, what are you doing on your side of the planet?
I've got a few drops of pomegranate juice, but I'm mostly vaping over here because I'm a stoner.
I appreciate that. Okay, so your first question is, what is your favorite book of all time?
Oh, of all time, Another Roadside Attraction by Tom Robbins.
Why?
It's irreverent, it's sexy, it's philosophical, and it's very tongue-in-cheek, and I love his writing style.
Very cool. What is your least favorite book of all time?
Oh man. Do I have to have finished it, or can I do
No,
No.
you should not finish.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna go on a rant about this book that it's just awful. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but the author is Claire Legrand, and she does a trilogy, and it's something about queens, and she used so many different points of view for each of the chapters. She used 8 to 10 different characters for points of view for the chapters, and side characters who died, characters who just popped out of nowhere and then disappeared and were never seen from again. And I absolutely hated it. And that was also on top of all of the trauma dumping that was going on in the book. And the main character just could not handle anything. And it was entirely frustrating. I rage finished that book.
Rage finished.
I don't think I've ever heard that before. I rage finished a book.
I was so mad because I'd sunk so much time into the trilogy. By the time I was it has to get better, right? It has to get better. I was only in it for these two this charactership that I had. And I was they have to get together in the end. And in the end, they didn't end up being separated by time traveling.
It never happened.
It never happened. It's awful.
Tell me how you really feel about that situation.
I hate to hate on other authors, but Claire, the other Claire, what's going on? What's going on with this trilogy?
No, it makes sense. What about what is your favorite way to read? Hardcover, ebook?
Actually probably paperback. If I had to choose between hardcover and paperback, I like having the physical book, but I like paperbacks because they're so flexible. And I'm one of those people that cracks the spines. I I destroy my books.
So
I'm a
well-loved book.
spine as well. I tell people when people are like, I'm going to lend you this book, I'm like, I'm going to end up taking that book in the bathtub and I'm going to crack its spine. Do you want to lend me this book?
Yeah, and
Like,
I
that is
will
your full disclosure. If you're going to give me a paperback book, that's what's going to happen with it.
yeah.
What about your favorite book to TV show or movie? Like, you think they did a really good job with it?
Oh, that's a good one. Witcher, I think, is the best written to visual adaptation I've seen, because that was a series of short stories and Polish short stories from the 1980s, and that became the Witcher franchise that we now know it.
Yeah. No, okay. What about the opposite? Where did they go horribly fucking wrong with what they did?
Which one scarred you the most?
Yeah, I don't know if it's more of the plot or more of the adaptation, but Atonement with Ewan McGregor, it really rubbed me the wrong way. Like, I love Keira Knightley, but it got weird.
I don't think I've seen that, but I believe you. What author would you like to meet and sit down and have lunch with, dead or alive?
Dead or alive?
Dead or alive. Wow.
When they have lunch with you, they will be in a living type form and not a zombie, but
Yeah. We had to clarify that a couple of times.
yeah.
They will not be covered in the dirt of their grave.
I mean, we kind of have to like understand what type of zombie we're talking about, though. Like, do they have
no zombies, regular, normal people?
Brought to life for one day to eat lunch with you, Claire.
A warm body zombie at the end. How about that?
I'd love to talk to Einstein, honestly. I've read some of his less mathematical writings, and I think his theories are absolutely fascinating.
Very cool. What about your comfort book? What book do you like to reread all the time? Sometimes not our favorite book. Sometimes they're very different.
I'm actually not really one that rereads things.
What? Oh.
Yeah. I rarely reread books. I mean, it would probably have to be the favorite book that I mentioned at the beginning, Another Roadside Attraction, and The Life of a Woodpecker. Like, those are two Tom Robbins books that I've read multiple times, but like I've only read them maybe 2 or 3. It's not like I have books that I read over and over and over again.
So you don't have that book that you read every year?
No, I have TV shows, but I don't have books.
What is the TV show that you watch every year?
Buffy.
See, I just got done rewatching Buffy.
Your best friend is right here.
Yes.
Like, I've literally seen Buffy all the way through maybe a dozen times. Like,
we're in an Airbnb and she's put me in the nook under the TV, and I'm like, "Are you watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer?" She goes, "Yeah, shut up." And she's like, "I don't remember this episode." I said, "This is the episode where Xander turns into a hyena, because I remember it very clearly." And she's like, "Nuh-uh." And then sure as shit, it starts to unfold. She's like, "How the fuck did you remember this episode and not me? You're not even a fan." And like, I got in trouble.
That was the reason I put her in the nook under the TV, just for the record, because things like this.
Yeah. Buffy and Critical Role are my 2 shows that I watch over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, there are definitely series that I love to rewatch. I rewatch Schitt's Creek. That's one of my favorites to rewatch. I absolutely love that show.
Fold the cheese, Erica. Fold the cheese.
Fold in the cheese. Do I fold the little broken pieces? I mean, some of that script was just fucking brilliant. The same is true with the Buffy. I think a lot of people don't realize there's a lot around Goss Wheaton, and I'm not even going down that entire path. Yeah. But that show did things like they had a lesbian on the show, which was not a thing on teen drama shows, and like they had a bunch of stuff that was a female lead that kicked ass, that didn't really have to have a boyfriend. And I kind of count out season 6 because I don't understand fucking writing on season 6 of that particular show, but I think it's one show that had a lot of stuff that I think now when people look at it, they don't realize how different it was.
It was groundbreaking at the time. Groundbreaking. And
she also points out that it would not work because cell phones.
Yeah, no, I'm
everyone was lost and they couldn't get a hold of them.
Yeah, it's a special moment in time. It's a special moment in time for sure.
Well, they spend most of the time going, I'm going to go look for them. If you watch that show back to back, the amount of, like, you could create a drinking game called, I'm going to go find this person. You'd be drunk in 2.5 fucking seconds. I'm going to go find that. I'm going to go look for Xander. I'm going to go find Buffy. I'm going to, and then somehow between wherever, and I don't understand the layout of this town because it changes
right.
all the time. But somewhere between leaving the house and whatever, big scary monster happens to show up just for them.
Yeah.
And then there are later episodes where they're driving for like, how long will it take to get there? Like an hour. Like, what? I think the whole of Sunnydale is not an hour. What are you doing?
There last season.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a moment in time for sure. And I haven't seen it replicated anywhere else, like to the extent that what is more culturally significant, the Renaissance or Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
I think the Renaissance fairs have definitely changed what the Renaissance was. I know that. Even chess match, let's do it. Okay. Next question, Bao.
Oh, I'm asked, what is your do you have reference books that you like to go to when you write?
The thesaurus is my best friend, like thesaurus.com. It's Bay. We have a long-term relationship. It's very deep. But I also have a gem book that I actually reference quite often because I use a lot of gem symbology for the goddesses and gods for their temples and crowns and decor. And so I actually have a gem reference book that I look at a lot. Like, what are all the red gems available? What are all the teal gems available?
I must confess that I just searched up sexual meanings with gemstones, and tiger's eye is supposed to increase your chance for a threesome. Did you guys know that?
Tiger's eye? All right.
All right. Everyone note that right now.
Well, I'm not even going to ask. I don't even want to know why that came up as a thing.
I had to it's bad when you have to use incognito on Chrome.
Oh yeah. I had a dream about a month ago that my landlord wanted to evict me because of my Google search history. And I literally like panicked in the dream, woke myself up, like my heart was pounding while I was
your history.
Yeah, and like my brain immediately went, but I'm a writer.
It's gonna be okay.
See, I don't bother using, knowing how computers work. The only time I use incognito mode is to look up plane fares when I'm trying to that I've already Googled before, or because it remembers when you Googled it. But other than that, like these idiots that use incognito mode, like that's going to save them if something happens. Yeah, there's a case right now where they did that.
Today.
Yeah, I love the little reminder that pops up like, did you know that incognito isn't really incognito?
Yeah, no, there's a current gentleman on trial for murder who used incognito mode to look up, will a hacksaw dismember a body? His wife is missing, by the way.
He should have written a horror book.
Found out.
Yeah, no, idiots.
Found it out.
Okay, if you could be any mythical or fantastical creature, what would you be?
Oh man, I think I'd love to be a mermaid.
Ooh,
I really like water. I really like, I mean, I'm a double Pisces. I've got a Pisces sun and moon, so like water's my shit. So
what kind of mermaid though? Like from what pantheon?
I mean, do you have a categorization system that you're referring to, or are you talking?
Well, like if you look at a Harry Potter mermaid, those are very different mermaids than
I see
the little fucking mermaid, and
or the water mermaids and the river mermaids and like Romanian Slavic.
Sure.
Okay, no, I wasn't going about.
That's where my brain goes.
Yeah, I was like,
mythology books are on the shelf. Damn it, this is my forte.
I was like, are we talking like ocean v river, or are we talking like blue v red?
No, I was talking more like the monstrous kind of mermaids, the siren kind of mermaids, and then the cutesy pootsy mermaids, you know?
Yeah, well, there's this series that I read last year. I'm trying to remember the author's name, but it's Skin of the Sea. Natasha Bowen is the author. and she does African mythology influenced fantasy romance that's focused around mermaids. And her version of mermaids are basically like messengers of the gods. Like they do certain acts. Like when people die at sea, they ferry their bodies to the afterlife, kind of thing. And the way that she describes mermaids in that series, I just think is so cool. Because they can like regrow their legs and walk on the ground if they want to, but like they eventually wear out and have to re-seek water at a certain point in time.
See, Val, did you know about that? Now you have to go read that because you didn't know about that.
No, you have to go read that. I've not done a full African mythology dive.
You're good.
Well, like, now you're going to have to. You're about to write an entire set of 3 books about.
No, I have to finish the 8 that I have. I have to finish the Cedric series. I have to finish the urban legend cryptid eroticas.
That's what I'm talking about, you weirdo. Literally why we can't have nice things. Okay, what's your favorite weird food combination?
Weird food combination.
Mustard watermelon, pickles and ice cream.
Why are you listing off pregnancy food, Val?
Because that's the first thing people think about.
Yeah, I mean, something that's weird that I like to eat is I like to eat avocados for breakfast, just like a straight up avocado with lemon pepper on top. And that's a perfect breakfast for me, is just an avocado with lemon pepper.
With lemon pepper on it.
Mm-hmm. Do you know the spice?
Buy the lemon
pepper?
Oh, I know the spice. I had way too many chickens in my past with lemon pepper on them. Oh. So I can't really do lemon pepper because I feel like I've lemon peppered myself to death.
Sure, yeah. On avocado, it's delicious. Just like slice open an avocado, sprinkle lemon pepper on top. It's
equivalent to me, like doing
sounds pretty healthy. Okay, what about anytime you want to jump in with actual questions, Val, you could.
Oh, okay.
I thought you were interrupting.
As a reader, what is your favorite trope to pick out?
I love a good redemption arc. Like redemption arcs just get me. Like, give me a bad boy that's secretly emotional and he has like a coming to Jesus moment and decides to better his ways. Like Pride and Prejudice, Mr. Darcy. Like, give me that every day, please.
Let's see. What else can I ask? What has been the most effective way to reach readers for you? Has it been a certain social media channel? Has it been your newsletter or some other means?
Interesting. I can't really track the sales that happen necessarily of my books, but anecdotally, I can say that networking has been by far the most effective sales channel for me.
What's your favorite way to network?
Women's business networking groups are actually my favorite. There's one called the F-Bomb Breakfast Club. I think you guys would like it if you like F-bombs. And it's basically waking up at fucking early in the morning on the first fucking Friday of the month, and everyone just gets together and talk shop and, you know, wear their big boss girl panties and get shit done.
That's very cool.
Go ahead. You seem to be on a roll.
Look, she's allowing me to do a thing. That's what just happened, just so you know.
I don't think it's gonna go well, but go ahead.
Because you've mentioned, if you guys were listening to the previous podcast, that she mentioned music and playlists. What is your writing ritual when you get down into your chair? Do you have to have a certain snack food, a certain drink, have to do certain things have to be taken care of before you can start? What is your writing ritual to get into the mode?
Yeah. So I call it my writing nest. And I basically have to like surround myself with everything that I will need for the next 5 hours. So that includes 3 different types of water. Like I like still water, sparkling water, and tea. So I have 3 different types of water, and I have seaweed snacks. I love seaweed snacks because they're salty and they give me that salty.
Nobody mermaid, we just don't know it yet.
Yeah. And I have to have chocolate as well. So I have to have sweet and salty with all of my waters, and I have to have my vape pen nearby. and I have like a pillow and a lap blanket that I use. And so I have to like turn on the TV, put on the playlist, gather my snacks, sit down and create my little nest.
Love it.
Very cool. Very cool. What? Oh my gosh. I don't know. That was a
What,
jig
Erica?
right.
Where's the question? Where's the question, Erica?
Where? Why?
Why?
The jig
How?
brain stopped working. No, so what has been and when you're looking at your, like, what is your Achilles heel? What is something that you feel like you run into this problem when you're writing?
Specifically when writing, I mean, impatience is always my Achilles heel, but I think in writing, I have to make sure that I'm not overstretching myself with too many projects. Like, I've learned that lesson too many times in the past as a creative. I'm very apt to pick up a lot of different, because my brain generates ideas all the time, every day. There's no stopping it. So I've gotten really intentional about what ideas I follow, because if I follow all of them, I end up just running around like a chicken with my head cut off and not able to like devote any time to any of them. So I've actually been practicing, like training myself to say no to myself.
Oh, wow.
Like, no, Claire.
How do you track your characters talking to you?
I just let it happen in my brain. Like when I'm doing dialogue, I have to use those songs sometimes to sink into their points of view, but it's pretty much just me imagining scenarios in my brain. For battle scenes in particular, I actually use diagrams and little pieces and move them around the battlefields when I'm tracking battles, like almost like I'm playing D&D with myself.
Interesting. Okay. Val?
Oh, my turn again. I'm allowed to ask more questions.
I'm desperately trying to get you to do this, but we'll see.
Okay. What was your favorite part of self-publishing? Like after you went through the process and the anxiety has melted away and the thing is done, looking back on it, which part did you feel was your favorite part about the process that you don't think you could have gotten out of traditional side?
Interesting. I think I was just having such creative freedom over what the book actually ended up looking like. Like, I was very pleased with the physical iteration of the book, like once it was in my hands. And the self-publishing process let me be so hands-on with that. Like, I chose the layout, I chose the cover designer, I chose how all of these pieces came together into that physical object, whereas with traditional publishing, that's more out of my hand.
Love it. Let's see. Are you a plotter or a pantser or a planter?
Planter. I'm solidly in the middle. Like, I actually write as I go. I don't like write out outlines, but I do plot out everything in my head. So one of my maladaptive daydreaming habits is to have scenarios in my head as I fall asleep every night. And that's where I do most of my book planning, is like I just imagine out each of the plot scenarios. And so by the time I sit down to write it, I don't have to be like, all right, in this chapter, this is going to happen. It's already in my brain.
So with that in mind, do the characters write the story or do you write the story?
It's collaborative. I would say it's a team effort. Like, it's not one or the other.
You use that.
It's not one or the other, honestly. Like, I come up with the scenarios, I come up with like the play, but the actors can improv. And I honestly encourage that. I mean, that's why I include those aspects of the D&D game in the novel as well, is because I like having that bit of unexpectedness, that if I planned each detail out myself as like the master puppeteer of everything, then it wouldn't be as faceted.
What would you say after DMing games would be what you, let me rephrase this because drunk Val is struggling with the
I
thought.
was like, where are you going with that?
As a now that you've DM'd a game, what have you learned as a DM that has aided you in telling your stories as a writer now?
Oh, I
that
mean,
you weren't doing
everything.
before? What?
Honestly, like D&D has influenced my writing styles so much, like especially Matt Mercer when it comes to D&D, and hearing him talk about how you develop a world, how you build a world in the fantasy realm, like his concept of starting with the town and then building from there absolutely impacted the way that I write, because I use D&D mechanics in battle. I use like hit point mechanics in battle. Like there's all these different D&D structures that help me think about all of the different aspects of the world as well. Like, do they have cars? One of my famous questions when it comes to fantasy world building is, do they wear underwear and what is it called?
I love that piece of advice.
Because it's all kinds of things in all kinds of different worlds, like bloomers, panties, under things, small things, breeches. Like, what do you call underwear? Yeah, like, do they even wear underwear? And it's like those kind of details make your fantasy world real to the reader.
Yeah.
So D&D has influenced my writing in so many different ways, in how to build 3D worlds, not just 2D.
Was there an author that you used to read heavily that you also feel has influenced your writing or how you tell stories?
One author that I'm watching very, very closely right now is Danielle L. Jensen. I specifically came across her with her Dark Shores series. It's unfinished at the moment. I think she's written 4 so far, 3, 4, something like that. And she also did a previous series, but the way that she builds her world, I love the way that she doesn't let descriptions take over the entire page. Like, in Russian literature, they spend like 5 pages describing a cabinet. Like a lot of fantasy writing can be like that. Like they're describing the setting, and it takes so long for to describe the political structures, to describe the factions, the conflicts that are going on, the world economic systems and things like that. But it really takes a skilled writer to be able to condense that information in a way that's still accessible to the reader, so they don't get overwhelmed by all that information, but you still don't have to spend 10 pages on description.
They don't need the increments and things, but in a conversation between a main character and a sub character, you can instantly establish how the main character feels about their world and those things. I talk about that. I'm like, you're losing reader immersion, and you could have done this in a more engaging way.
Totally.
And I think that comes with how we write now, right? Because back in the 1800s, there was a lot of, you need to establish all these fantastical and explain yourself, because fantasy writers during Tolkien's time still had to kind of basically say, hey, this is not children's literature. I'm telling a very adult story here. And we were like, you have elves.
Yeah.
We don't have to defend ourselves anymore to our readerships and society. And I think that's opened up a lot of freedom.
Very true. Okay, I got your final question, Claire.
Yeah, I'm ready.
See how I did that to you, Val? I'm going to do the final question.
Ooh, we flipped it. Do it.
Just wait for her to calm down for a couple seconds here, and then we can do it. Who would you cast as the lead character, book 1 and book 2?
I really want Jensen Ackles as the masculine main character of the book. For the feminine, I might go with, if I could have a mix between like Xena, the warrior princess, the actress that plays her.
Oh yeah, Lucy Lawless.
Yeah, and like Catherine Zeta-Jones. Could I have like a mix between them?
Sure. It's your book, so you can do whatever you want.
Can I create a hybrid human specifically to play this role in the book the movie adaptation.
Oh,
of-
Gal Gadot, would that fall between a little?
Can I get a government grant for that?
Yeah, we'll work on that. We'll submit. We'll let you know how that goes.
I'll find someone.
Okay. Do not trust drunk Val to do any of that. Anyway,
This is 11%.
shameless self-promotion.
Ugh.
For me?
Only
Okay.
5%. This is bad.
I know. Snookums, I'm aware. It's okay. You are just perfect, just the way you are. Okay, we're gonna let Claire do her shameless self-promotion now, so shush it. Claire, do it.
Love in the Face of Death by Claire E. Jones on all the major platforms, Barnes & Noble, Goodreads, Amazon, you got it. And Claire Joyance for all of my links. So CLAIRJOYANCE, clairvoyance with a J.com and all the socials.
Very cool. Thank you so much for being on this podcast and enduring Valerie. So
People are putting up with drunk Val, who
I mean-
has not appeared on a podcast in like 3 podcasts from now. So people are gonna be like rejoicing and cringing at the same time. And remember, this is what drunk Val is like.
stop waving your hand in front of your face. I love you so much.
I mean, I feel blessed by the bacchanal that this
You,
was.
you really should. Anyway, Claire, it's been amazing to have you guys. This has been Drinking with Authors, the Drunk Val Literary Briefs edition. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, leave us a comment, leave us a review. We'd love to hear it. And we will see you next time.